Let's do a cheers. Start off the
Cheers
show.
to filtered water.
To filtered water. I got a good slurp in. There we go. Welcome to The Rightest Leftist. I'm Nathan Ogilvie. This is a podcast for the politically homeless. And I'm here with a good friend Jake as a first follow-up episode.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back.
To the everyday, what was it? Everyday person?
Yeah, Everyday Aussies.
Everyday Aussie.
So, yeah, to remind people, you're a non-voter. We haven't had an election since we last spoke. I guess that hasn't changed.
Haven't got another fine then? Yeah.
Yeah. Today I was wanting to catch up on the topic we talked about last time was the non-voting, and I have a proposal. So I took our conversation and sort of came up with an idea that I think I want to run by you. Not necessarily going to convince you. I have no power anyway, so it's not going to be implemented.
Not yet, yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to just hear your thoughts on it, because I think that there's a lot of good points that you made, especially about we're a free country, and myself pro-freedom, but then we fine people for choosing
for not having a say.
Do something. So good point. And the other one is the AI, because I know you're doing a lot of AI projects and stuff in your own time.
Yeah.
And my latest, I've been doing a few videos on, I'm calling it the job apocalypse, because already more so in America, Amazon announced cutting 600,000 jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan recently and talked about how, I don't know what number I've seen things by 2030, 50% of jobs could be lost. The high number is half of the jobs could go to AI.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said something that high, but that sounds about
It's pretty
what
quick.
he was talking about. It's coming around the corner, and my fear is that I don't think people are ready. I don't think the Australian government is ready. They have no policies on it. So I just thought we could have a chat about that.
Yeah, I love it.
And because we have no power, nothing will be solved. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all that.
Yeah.
On that. So, all right, let's start.
The proposal.
The proposal. So I'm going to call it the freedom election. And I think, so the next election is going to be probably 2028. And so my proposal will be, let's call it the freedom election. We'll take away all of the negative consequences for not voting. So take away the fine. Because, the whole point about that would be, it's a bit hypocritical that we're a free country. People have the freedom, but then you choose not to vote and you then get fined. My only issue to that, which I think I explained in the last video, check out the last video, I put a link, is that my only worry is that because there's countries that do that, and then America, and then the participation drops, because Australia, even the last election was over 90%, and America's is something like 65% of that's not including children and the disabled who can't vote. That's people who are adults who could vote. Only 65% of those vote. So that's in America, the last election, Trump or Kamala Harris both didn't get the most votes. The non-voters actually was 90 million. So
Right.
Trump got 70 million, Kamala Harris got 69 million or whatever, and 90 million didn't vote.
Right.
So my worry is in Australia, if that happened, that would be pretty bad, because that's when you can get the really far out extreme people in, because that's just the way it goes when you don't have most of the population voting.
Right.
So my proposal is the positive incentives. So I've done the math. I like to do this without sheets, so I don't have it with me, but the numbers is basically offering individuals a $35 voucher to go and vote. And the voucher is essentially compensation for your time. So I looked at the average hourly rate in Australia is $35 an hour.
Right.
For 35 to 36.
Yeah.
So, and I personally did it last election, took me an hour to vote.
Yeah.
So what I propose is that it's basically it's not charity from the government, it's reimbursement for your time to go out, read the flyers of the politicians and go out and vote.
Yeah.
And then if you're a couple like you and your wife, I don't know if we can name, but that, you and your partner, if you're a couple, that's $70, and then, you can go out to dinner or something like that. And what I thought to add to that, if we really wanted to get into the policy, would be, I think it would be great if it was more local businesses sign up. So it's actually small. So it's not going to go to Coles and Woolies and the big businesses.
Yeah.
It's local restaurants, local, not Bunnings, but if you have smaller independent stores, they can sign up. So it's not just cash, it's a voucher.
Right.
So it's actually kind of stimulating the economy too.
Yeah.
that people you'll go instead, like you go vote, you get the voucher,
Yep.
and then you can go spend that at a small business.
At that place. Oh, that's a good idea.
So because it will cost a lot. Because then I can already hear. I don't know if you're already thinking of
35 times.
yeah, when you're thinking about like the downsides to it. So it will probably double the cost of the election. The election is around 500 million to run. Or 50 million. I've probably got the wrong zero. It's 50 or 500 million, and it'll double that to like about a billion or 100 million. But the idea would be that money sort of basically, because it's not
going
just
back
cash
in.
that people can put in savings.
Yeah.
It'll be spent. So it's almost like an economic stimulus as well. And so what I thought too is like, you can then go, no, I still don't believe in any of the politicians in my area. I really don't want to vote, and you can exercise that right and you won't get punished.
Yeah.
But you could go, $35, go down to the local school. I guess the voting is probably just here. Walk down and vote and get your voucher. You can still donkey vote. That's your.
Yeah.
You can go. You don't have to. You can go just
Unengaged.
slip and put a penis on it and literally draw a donkey and just submit it. So you don't have to vote, but you can still get the voucher. And then you can also the last thing is there's like wealthier people or people who are going to vote anyway. You can kind of opt out. And you can either opt out as just you'll go vote and not take the voucher. And then that vouchers, I think there'd be a good system too of like charities.
Yeah.
Some local charities linked to each area.
Yeah.
And then the unclaimed vouchers. And that's not people that didn't show up, but the people that opted out.
Yeah, so I don't need it.
Yeah, like I'll vote, but I'll opt out of the voucher. That goes to the charity.
That's
so then
good,
you feel like you've donated as well. So, so those people that were going to vote anyway and just do it for that civic duty or whatever can then, or they don't need the money.
Yeah.
Can just opt
or
out.
would rather someone else have it.
And then, like let's say you had 1,000 people in each area doing that. There's like 35,000 that goes to a local charity.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have got it in the first place. So
I love it.
There you go.
I love it. I'm in.
What do you think?
I think incentive based is always better than punishment, reward versus punishment. So I think that's a big step in that direction. I don't think it stops your initial problem of people being disengaged voters, because you'll still just take a voucher and donkey vote, like you said.
You could.
But I don't think that was the issue anyway. I think the issue was what you've already fixed with that proposal.
Well, I'll tell you, I've thought about that a lot. And I do think what this does is it does shift the burden back onto who it should be in the first place, of the politicians and the parties to...
make compelling.
Yeah, to make... That's a good word. I was going to say to be interesting, but you don't want it to be interesting in the sense of like... outrageous for the sake of it or whatnot. Like
entertaining.
They need to be more innovative in how they engage voters to want to vote for something. Because that's the thing I said, I agreed with you last election. I was so despondent. I went in to vote because I saw that as a civil duty, didn't want to get fined. So I went in and did it, but I wasn't excited to vote for anyone.
Yeah.
I didn't think anyone really stood for what I believe in my area. And that's the big problem that, I don't think you're going to solve it with this thing, but I think this will get
still an upgrade.
Because look, I did the numbers, and it does vary in different areas, but I think overall in Australia, because the number is about, I think it was like around 91%. So you do get about 9% of people that just don't vote.
Yeah.
But then there is also the donkey voters, because they get counted because like they know how many people got ballots, and then they know how many votes there were. So the gap between those two numbers is the donkey voters.
Right.
And that's somewhere between 4 and 5% as well. So in this thing, people who might show up, so that like maybe you might even do it to get the voucher. You show up, but you still donkey vote. That 9% will jump over to the 4%.
Yeah.
So if that donkey voter number increases, then we know some people at least took the voucher, but then they opted out of actually voting.
Yeah.
At least that shows we got people to the polls. Whether they choose to vote or not it's still a free country.
Yeah. How can you say if the poll booths were digital interfaces like iPads, and it just had options, you wouldn't be able to donkey vote, right?
They'd probably have an option just to not vote.
Like I turned up, but I didn't want to choose anything.
Yeah, like no, it'll be none of.
But you don't need that anymore if you're not going to fine people for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they allow. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to go digital because there are issues with digital voting, so it's always going to be paper.
Right.
That's just part of how elections are. You're allowed to show up and not vote. I think in America, people just don't. I can't imagine you'd bother to show up and then not vote in America, but you're allowed to. That's part of like a democracy.
Yeah.
You're not forced to you don't have to vote for someone.
Yeah.
In Australia, you have to vote in the sense of if you don't show up to the booth to get the ballot.
But with your new proposal, that wouldn't be necessary, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, and so this is the thing. So the benchmark would be if you get above 90%, then really like that's a huge success, because anyone that wasn't going to vote anyway, this incentive didn't really change their mind, and it didn't increase. I would put the cutoff at 85%. So if with this incentive we take away the punishment or the fine, we fall below 85%. We probably need to relook at what happened, like see what numbers changed and see what happened, because once you start going below, definitely below 80%, but even below 85%, you lose the robust. At least people have to shop to, like if they get fined, it brings at least 9 out of 10 people out. So if you fall below 8 out of 10 people, I would consider it a failure. But again, we don't know. So that's why I'd propose Anthony Albanese. But I think we should try it. I do think we should. I genuinely think I would vote for that if that was a thing.
Oh yeah, I would as well.
I would say let's just give it a go, a freedom election, and flip it. Don't make it compulsory, but positively incentivize people and see what.
Well, there's also the momentum of goodwill when you do that. Like if the government does that, I don't care. I'm neither way. But if they do that, I see that they're trying to make things better, and that creates like this ball of goodwill inside me. It's like, all right, I might at least now, before I go and get my $35 voucher, say to ChatGPT, what do all these guys stand for in my area? It'll give me a summary, and I'll go, that one's the most close. I'll vote for them. That's all the goodwill did for me.
That's all I want.
And that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
For a $35 voucher.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we don't have to go back through COVID, but that's with the vaccines, was like punishing people for not doing it gets people's backs up, and there is a portion, and I think I'm a bit like this, a bit anti-authoritarian as well. Like it's like, why should I? Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like, there was a floated idea of like whatever the number would be, every week you go in, if you get vaccinated in that week, you go into the lottery to win $1 million. The lottery ticket is getting vaccinated. I reckon there's a few anti-vaxxers who would have gone $1 million chance to win that, or even just a straight up voucher for getting vaxxed. Look, there are people that like we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of that.
There would be people that turn though.
Yeah, there would have been people who maybe aren't vaccinated now who would have got vaccinated if it was more a positive incentive. And that was just examples, whatever that looked like. That's the way I think government should run, is like positive reinforcement. We know that from psychology. That's what the thing is, like that motivates people way more than punishment.
But this one is like clearly the proposal for the voting incentive is good because it's clearly not benefiting either side. But if you had a COVID injection bribe, because now they're going to see how there's like an angle in that case that they're now, because now when we look back on it, they're like, all this new science, we didn't need it, it's done this, it's caused this. So now the angle would be they bribed you to take it. So it's interesting. For that thing, for your thing, it's great. But there are things when there's such a heavy like stigma on either side where it would be seen as a bribe instead of a reward.
Essentially, bribe is a negative connotation, but it is because you're trying to get someone to do something.
Yeah.
But again, there are so many bribes, especially in like politics. Like politicians get bribed by big donors and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's bribe the Aussie people to vote. Like sometimes bribing is a good idea.
Yeah, but I don't think in this context I would call it a bribe. I think it's an incentive in this context. No, you're not going to lick his.
Because it goes down to it's just the carrot or the stick, And when you're training, you got a dog. You don't.
I'm going to bribe him to leave the room.
My understanding, I'm not got cats, not dogs, but you train them by giving them treats for doing what you want.
Yeah, food rewards.
You don't give them punishment for not doing what you want. We know that doesn't work.
It's not good for a happy dog, that's for sure.
Not good for a happy population. So.
Yes.
So it gets the tick of approval?
I like it. I would do it. And even if it dropped below 85, 80%, that's what I was going to say as well. What is the principle behind thinking that the low 65% engagement rate in the US is worse?
So as we talked about it a bit last time, but I can explain more, is like that what happens when you have lower turnout is it's like the kinds of people that don't vote. It's often poorer people that are more like disengaged, or there's sort of certain sections of the population that when you don't give them that reason, which in Australia is the negative thing, it often tends then towards like extremes. I think the UK is a good example where I think their participation is like less than 50%. Oh, it's really low. I think it's even worse in America in some cases.
Yeah.
And then they get like their like extremists sort of get elected,
Right.
Because a lot of the time those people are more engaged.
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's like, or they don't. The other thing that we have too, which is good, is the ranked choice voting, which I guess we have that anyway, whether a lot of people turn up or not.
Yeah.
But what happens is it's often people that struggle more to get to the polls and vote or find a way to do it. And it is sort of, as I said, like I don't like it because it is kind of coercive. It's like, yeah, a person who's lower income looks at, oh, I'm going to get a fine, so I have to figure out a way to go and vote.
Yeah.
So it makes it's almost like they're going to make their lives worse by doing it to get them out. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty horrible way to do it.
Yeah.
But you do get different results in elections.
Yeah.
The Clive Palmer kind of people, the far right, or even the far left too. It's not really a left or right thing. It's just more extreme candidates.
Yeah.
Often don't. It's harder for them to get in when more of the population votes because the whole thing with centrism.
You don't service the centre.
Most people are in the middle
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
And the extremes are less.
So they weigh it out a bit better.
Yeah, and you would sort of say like just because it's less proportion, wouldn't that affect the extremes more? But in most countries where they don't have that, that's often what does happen. Is it gives more chance for extreme.
Well, yeah, the people with stronger opinions are way more likely to try and get the power.
Yeah, and
by
it's like,
voting them in. And
the idea is like the more people from a population that you can go to get to vote, the more likely the person who actually represents that population gets in, basically.
yeah, right.
There's a whole lot of, doesn't guarantee it, but that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
idea is you want as many people as you can to vote. And it's
Yeah.
never going to be 100%, but for me, I would have the cutoff at like over 90 is a great success. It means basically getting rid of the fine and putting in the reward keeps it
Worked,
the same.
yeah.
But I wouldn't say like even above 85% is pretty good. And then is it like you increase is that it's got to be $40 or a different incentive, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you could modify it from there.
Well, but there is also just the acceptance of now it's not a negative. Now it's not a punishment. There are people that aren't going to do it because they don't have to be scared of getting a fine, and that's the only reason they're doing it. So there may be a good 10 to 15% chunk. Say it cuts it down to 75%.
Yep.
Is there not any way that you just accept that is the amount of people that were doing it purely because of the fine?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're probably never going to know because our country is a nanny state that likes to punish people. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at it. Yeah, you'd have to see what happened. You know?
But you said if it dropped around 80 that you would have to re-evaluate. I'm saying, couldn't you just write that off as the difference?
Yeah, but I would just mean like I mean by that like whether you keep doing that or not, whether you go, oh no, we need to go back to the compulsory to get it back up, or if it was 75, like what actually happened with that? Because I don't know the last time Australia would have had 75%. It's usually been pretty high since they brought, since it was 1926.
Well, when it's mandatory, you expect it to be pretty high.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So to take away the mandatory and do the incentive, if it keeps it high, that would just be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good proposal.
Should we talk about AI?
We should.
So, yeah, my whole thing is I'm calling it like the job apocalypse. And yeah, depending on the number that you read or whatnot, at the very least, AI is even now disrupting the workplace. There's been like articles about people who have either straight up just lost their job because they've been replaced, or people where it's kind of, there was one where the lady was a copywriter, so kind of freelancing. It wasn't her main income, but she could earn a few $100s here and there by editing people's work or writing stuff. And now with ChatGPT and stuff, that there's some areas where this AI is just completely like humans don't really even need to do it anymore.
Yeah, obliterated.
So I don't, if you want just this, you can talk about what you've been doing on AI or whatnot, but like also I know keeping in mind there was a Joe Rogan Elon Musk episode where Elon Musk, richest man in the world, he sort of co-founded OpenAI, didn't he? Which started Chat. I don't know if he's involved in it anymore, but
no, they fell out.
Sam Altman, yeah,
because it didn't go in the direction he wanted.
What do you think? Let me just start maybe like a yes/no question, and we can expand. Do you think I am very worried about the job apocalypse, and I think it's more likely to happen than we think? Is that too dramatic, or is that like what do you think about?
I don't think it's likely. I think it will happen.
Okay.
Yeah, it can't not happen because I already replaced so many people I would have had to use to develop with AI.
Yeah, sure.
So I can, just from Pouch Brain, I've coding, like the whole thing is coded. I've done the Photoshop stuff myself. I've done the marketing, the back end. So everything that I've done, and I keep a track of the actual expenses of what it's cost in development, not the cogs, just development. And it's sitting at around 1,200. And then I had this idea one time, because I do updates and I keep a track of what they are. And say I give a bug to the AI, I say the user has found this bug. How do we fix it? It fixes it. It actually tells me the cost exactly for that little fix, or its time working. And I started tracking that. And I did say it was version 5. It had all the new features, the bug fixes, and I tracked every cost of that. And it was about $55. And I gave it to ChatGPT and I said, how much would this be for an average software developer's hours by their average rate in Melbourne? And it was close to like 3K.
Wow.
So 3K of software development down to $55. And there's no waiting. I'm not saying waiting 2 days for a fix and then saying, I don't really like it, can you do this? I'm doing it, showing me straight away. So development's quicker, cheaper, more efficient.
Yeah.
It's like, I've already replaced people's jobs.
Yeah, and I've been, in my business, like my psychology business, I've been using it for admin tasks. And because I don't employ anyone, no one's lost a job. But it's freeing me up to work with more clients because I have more time. Rather than 2 hours a day of admin, it might be less than half an hour. So I can see an extra person a day. So I can provide more mental health support to people. So there's parts of it, like I'm always, when I talk about this stuff, I always want to highlight I'm like pro-business too. Like I think businesses should try and find ways to be more efficient. It's just when it gets to the level of like a bank, ANZ, cutting 3,500 jobs. Not all of those AIs. Some of them are like just straight up offshoring to other companies. That's a whole other conversation. That should be banned. If we're really Australia first, we should be getting Australian jobs. But yeah, there is this thing of like a big business, like on your scale of saving 2,500 or whatever it was, 2,700. Was it 55? 3,055.
That's just coding. That's not the graphic design. Like if I truly used a team for this, we might be up to 10K.
And so, because my thing is the people that do those jobs, what are they going to do when their job goes?
Well, they didn't get hired by me, so they still have their job, but they're not getting as much work.
Well, that's
Also, there's the flip. Say I didn't hire a graphic designer for this. I got ChatGPT to do it, and then I did what I could do in Photoshop, right? So they lost out on that work. But when they do get work, their work is way more efficient as well, because of those tools. So they're saying, so it's kind of like a catch-22. They're saving time on their own work, but they're getting less work. So it's a weird balance. But I mean, I don't see how, if I'm running a business like ANZ and I see that 3,500 things can be completely extinguished, that's saving me a lot on my payroll.
For sure,
And time and efficiency and errors, way less errors than human. Like it makes sense business-wise. But I think we do have to implement something like whoever's job does get taken by purely an AI role, they still must get the profits, or at least a percentage of the profit that they would have gotten, like half of their income. So, because I know, let's just say for an example, ANZ is going to replace someone who's on 80K a year, and their AI is going to do it would do it for nothing. Their job, right? Let's say it costs in COGS, operational costs of that AI, let's say it costs $1,000 a year. I would like to see a split. I'd like to see the person who lost their job on 80K gets 40K, and then they keep the extra 39K of profits. So the business still profits, the person keeps some type of income.
Do you mean as a redundancy and then they go?
Yes. They maintain their salary at half the percent.
Sure, Well, look, a lot of these people will get redundancies. I think the problem is the businesses are sort of saying, see you later. Saving the money, and then the government, which we're lucky at the moment, we have Labor who aren't going to touch Social Security, but so Susan Lee, who's a leader of the Liberal Party, has said if they get back in, we're going to look at entitlements and look at cutting them, and they're already below the poverty line. And that's why I'm seeing this recipe for disaster where it's like businesses are just going to let people go and there'll be no there'll be no consequences. These people, there's going to be mass unemployment and they're going to cut security. That's going to increase if we talk about
insane.
Safety and crime.
That's
And like, so there's ANZ, we'll just call that one company because they've done it, is like the CEO's on like $8.5 million a year. And that's made up of, he gets the base salary of like $2.5 million and then he gets incentives. The incentive structure is so backwards because for saving that money on cutting those people, he will get the benefits from that. And I'm like, that's so backwards because, like what you're talking about is the business is going, okay, we've got this AI it's saving us this much, so the employee gets a share of that. The businesses don't want to do that, or they
No,
don't.
not at
they
all.
have no incentive to do that.
No.
They're just like, let's just cut the people.
Well, stopping society from collapsing,
Yeah.
I would think would be a good incentive to not.
Because the businesses need customers. That's the problem too.
Yeah,
Those
who's
people-
going to pay for I think we touched on that point last time. Who is going to pay for it when no one has income?
Yeah.
Then your business collapses. There has to be some symbiotic thing, and they have to realize that pretty soon. Because like you said before, by 2030, 50% might be realistic, honestly. Like it's happening right now. I didn't just hire 5 people. I didn't cut jobs, but I didn't hire
Yeah,
5 people.
that's the Amazon thing of they said over the next 5 to 10 years, 600,000 jobs. That's jobs that don't exist yet, but when the company expands, like, I'm not going to need them.
Yeah.
Because they've got the automation.
Yeah.
So, I've got a child who's like 2 years old. What is she going to do for work? When she, like in
20 years or
last
something.
13 years, she can start
Yeah.
working at 15, I guess. It's 13 years away. Yeah, you sort of
Even
go,
Subway
what
will
jobs?
have robots making your subs by
That's
then.
what I mean. But then who's going to buy the subs if no one has money?
Us
to
on
buy?
universal high income.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So that is the universal basic income. Literally, the video that I posted just before this one, I sort of outline it. And I think it needs to go in detail because some people, I think most people have heard of it. But what it really is basically the government gives everyone a paycheck, but it's not like an entitlement in terms of you get it for any condition, you get it because you're a citizen. And it's for adults, so 18 and above. And the number is the proposal is usually about $1,000. I reckon it needs to be $1,200 now. Because
Weekly?
of the cost of living.
Is that?
Monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah, monthly.
Far out.
So it doesn't replace a salary because that's
Yeah.
about 15,000 a year. So if you're a couple, that's like 30 grand. So that doesn't replace a job.
No.
But it just takes the pressure off, like if you are a lower income or you're part-time or you're working on, because there's people, like, because Andrew Yang, who was like one of the presidential candidates in America in 2020 talked about it, where it's like stay-at-home mums or stay-at-home dads, people who maybe like they can't work for like full-time hours for whatever reason, like mental health issues or whatever.
Chronic illness, yeah.
Yeah, or chronic illness, like they can do some work, but they're going to be limited. Or people that are just, some people, like in all honesty, some people who just don't want to work, show up to an office and that, but they don't want to necessarily have to do that, the BS jobs thing of like pretending to apply for things when they've got no intention of long-term unemployed.
Make it mine.
Now, I know a lot of right-wingers are going to say, like, people need to be employed and those people shouldn't get rewarded for that.
Yeah.
But as on the other hand, let's say the XYZ bank cuts 1,000 jobs.
Yeah.
And all the other banks are cutting jobs, so they're not going to work. There are people that are going to be in this category of they are skilled and they want to work, but the jobs are just not there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll never be able to compete if they did it on their own either as a small business, because the operating cost of AI versus a human doing it is never going to outweigh the profit margins of a AI versus human. Yeah. So even if you say, oh, I lost my job there, I'm just going to start my own, you can't compete with their prices ever for the same services.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get close.
That's the whole thing with the monopolies of big corporations
Yeah.
have worked out how to just destroy small businesses.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It's profit margins. Yeah.
As I said, I'm lucky in my industry because, like, especially in our business, like, there's rules around advertising and competition and stuff. So it's quite easy to start to be a small competitor.
Yeah.
But like things like supermarkets or even tech companies, it's so hard to be a startup with smaller numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, local grocers we love them, but if you have a tough few months, you're going back to the chains straight away.
yeah, like so many businesses closing down. Yeah. That's depressing.
I think UBI or UHI, whichever one we would be lucky enough to get, it's to cover it is basic income. It's to cover the basics. You get food, you can keep your lights on. That's all you can really expect from it. But it would be nice to have universal high income where we can still actually, what did you talk about? Like still going after your creative interests and like art and like actually living.
I think the problem, and that's probably why it may never get implemented, is we have this, especially in Australia, I think it's worldwide, in Australia, especially from all the right wing, but even I'm kind of like this too, is like there's a lot of value attached to like work and your job. Like one of the first questions you get when you meet someone new is like, what do you do?
Yeah.
That mindset of you have to spend your days working is so ingrained. And like it kind of makes sense because you need to contribute to society to get something out of it. But we already have people who can't contribute to society, like people who are disabled or, parents, like there are parenting payments and things like that. So there is a level of understanding that some people can't show up to a workplace and work.
Yeah.
But that idea of, the unpaid work or if someone's pursuing something like creative, but they're not necessarily making an income from it, that they can have the time to do that with an income.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people just who have worked all their lives, or they just can't get around that mindset of like, why should we, like, because it's like, why am I paying for that? Because through taxes, that's right.
You'd also get to this weird loop where, say, universal high income gets approved, and now we're all just going about our day doing our passions. You make a piece of art, now you want to sell the art, but everyone else but you just got paid to make it by the government because you got paid universal high income. And then you go, yeah, that makes sense. I'll swap you for something. And now we're back to we're back to trading like it was 200 years ago, like bartering before products for services and goods. Like, you get this weird, I'm not going to pay for a painting that the government paid someone to stay home and paint.
It's so funny you mention that. I think it was either in philosophy or literature in my first year uni. I think it's a short story called, I think it's a play. It's called RUR, like Rossum's Universal Robots. And I think it was from the 40s. Probably going to get everything wrong, all the details wrong, but it was one of the first like pieces of literature on robots. And the idea, the guy Rossum, who created them in the story, envisioned a utopia where the robots were going to do all the work for us. It was like, there's a generic the house robot, like iRobot.
Yeah, and they're real now, yeah.
Yeah, well, but this is where that came from.
Yeah, right.
And the guy, the original writer, I don't even know who wrote it, but that was the point, was like robots, everybody will just be able to have leisure time and won't have to work because of the robots. But what's happened is, and like things like productivity, where I think we're working, like with productivity, the productivity is so high, like our output per hour, whatever worked, is so much higher, yet we haven't worked any less hours. The idea was going to be the productivity would go up so we can then work less hours.
Yeah.
But businesses have gone, we could get all that output. Yeah. We don't have to reduce their hours. We're just going to keep people working.
You still have to be here 8 hours a day.
Unpaid, it's up. Talk to anyone like a corporation, it's like 9 hours, maybe 10 a day.
Yeah.
It's always more than that.
Yeah.
Businesses get that extra input and the workers get screwed.
And they do what they're doing now, which is they saw that one guy can do what 4 people can do now with AI. They get rid of 3 jobs, keep the one guy who's now just a manager of AIs.
I'm proposing the AI CEO. The C-suite, that's all the executives who are on like I said, Nuno Matos from ANZ on like $8.5 million a year, nearly like $9 million a year basically.
Yeah.
Let's build an AI that does all the job of a CEO. All the general managers from the departments just input the information, and then you put it into this AI. Let's charge $500,000 a year, so they'll save $8.5 million, and then replace all the executives.
Yeah,
I reckon if
they're just talking to ChatGPT anyway.
Yeah,
what do I do?
But that's the thing, because this is where you get a bit absurd, where it's like in America it's even worse, but the ratio of how much the CEO makes to the average worker over the last like 10 years has just ballooned. Like it might be, they make 50 times what the average worker makes, and now it's like 200 times or something like that. It's just like snowballed.
Yeah.
I think the average wage increase for Aussies over the last year is like 0.9%, which I think that's real value, like, because you also got to take off inflation.
Right.
If inflation is like 3%, if someone got a pay rise of 3%, then it's just kept up with inflation.
Yeah.
So it's like their income has gone up with costs.
Right.
But CEOs, it's always like, depending on the industry or the business, I've seen it between like 13 to 25% increases, and they're already making millions.
Yeah.
So their increase is going way up, while workers are just.
I think I read a post about this the other day. There was kind of exactly that. Like, I think it was written by a girl about how much times her bosses, I don't know what position they were, but she was his assistant. She said he just kind of walks around the floor, just kind of talks to people, makes sure morals up, and then goes into his office. And because I am his assistant and I take his calls and his meetings and get his coffee, I know exactly what he does and doesn't actually do. And he's on something times 50 times my income. And she's like, it's demoralizing to see that this person can live so easily and my worth is 0.005 or whatever the deduction is of that. So the demoralization of someone realizing we're both spending the same amount of hours here every day. I'm probably doing more work than you.
Oh, probably.
Then an assistant probably does more
than
a CEO just in the meetings making a few decisions. But I mean, then you get to the CEO created the company or blah, blah, like he earned that. And then there's all the...
Yeah, and look,
but 50 times, that's
and that's
insane.
That's the whole thing is like, I'm not anti-business or anti-CEOs, but this is what I've said with like capitalism spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
Is that inequality going up gets to a point of instability.
Yeah.
Because they call it, I think it's like the Gilded Age, which was like 1929, just before the collapse.
Right.
Because in the 20s, you know that like Great Gatsby is the example, like the Roaring '20s, where like some of the entrepreneurs and business owners were getting super wealthy, and then the poor were getting poorer, and it all came like crashing down. And it's like, you look at what's happening, especially in America, it's happening again.
Yeah.
It's spiraling out of control. And then people like Bernie Sanders, the Social Democrats, and there's like Zoran Mamdani. I don't know if you followed him. He just got elected mayor in New York.
Okay.
He's kind of a similar, like, so he calls himself a democratic socialist. Social Democrat, they're similar things. They're basically like, the government should help with affordability and things like that. You know what, like Norway and Sweden do?
Yes.
Is like, there are basic things you can change to bring these things back down.
Yes.
And yes, they are like higher taxes on the ultra wealthy.
Yeah.
And other things like nationalising or having, you know, like with the universal basic income. Australia has so much resources with like the mining and all that. And the private companies get all the profit. It's like, don't we own that? The people should own what's in the ground in Australia. Like, that's the people's stuff.
Yeah.
Sure, businesses can get paid for extracting it and contracts. Like, I'm not against that. But those massive profits they're making, you know, you got like Gina Reinhart, richest person in Australia. She's worth like 28 billion.
Yeah.
And she's saying like, oh, we need to bring in these Africans who work for like $2 a day. It's like, come on.
They got to stay rich, Nathan. They got to stay rich.
Yeah, I mean, if that was me, I'd probably believe that too. But like, it just doesn't sustain, because the problem is it all comes crashed. I think that's the thing these ultra rich people aren't thinking about, which I think some of them are, because they're building bunkers. There's like Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, who's like the sugar daddy of JD Vance, like Trump's. VP. They're literally building bunkers because maybe they do see it coming.
I would build a bunker if I was in their position. But you also, there's the gap growing there's an analogous aspect of, say with AI, with productivity, like you said, productivity goes up but hours don't go down. But I can see why, because I could never code. I couldn't have started PatchBrain before this, right? Then suddenly I can. Suddenly I can make ideas come to life. There's an addictive aspect of progress. So like now I'm seeing progress happen in a blink of an eye. It's got my logo in 2 minutes instead of 2 days. So now I think productivity goes way up, but hours don't go down, because you actually get to see instant progress and you get addicted to making progress. So the people that get there, like adopted early and start going, they get on this exponential curve of productivity and progress. And the people that don't adopt it, you see the gap grow. So it's not just wage gap, it's also like, I don't think there's ever been a time of history where people putting in the work on their own passion projects can get so far ahead.
Yeah. I guess...
Without money.
I guess not. Yeah. I get what you mean, that you're kind of relating that, the curve in that sense, you're not measuring like money, you're measuring like skill and talent.
Pure progress of whatever project you're on.
That is like, that's probably do you know Ayn Rand, who wrote
Yes.
Shrugged and the Fountainhead? That's the objectivist argument I think you're saying, is like, the railroads, let's go back to like the 1800s, that the people that thought of the idea got the people together, created the business to create the railroads. Why should they're the ones that came up with it. Why shouldn't they get all the profits?
Yeah.
You know, they were the individuals who took the risk and had the guts to do it.
Put their time into it, yeah.
I don't think that that's incompatible with the Bernie Sanders. Like, people go, oh, Bernie Sanders is anti-wealth. It's like, well, he actually owns 3 properties. Like, he's probably a multi-millionaire because of his book sales. You don't have to be anti-wealth or anti-like meritocracy.
Yeah. It's
just that what actually happens over time is, because income and wealth are different things, right? Income is how much money you bring in per year. You know, like you report that. Everyone has a number of.
And wealth is like assets and.
Wealth is that stuff, and the problem is when you accumulate that wealth, the way it is at the moment is like, COVID is a great example, right? So many people, like, you were out of work. I know they brought in JobKeeper and stuff. Your income could have ground to a halt.
Yeah.
Then your wealth, then you have to dig into your wealth.
Yeah.
So whether that's going into your savings, you know, people took out their super.
Yeah.
That's their wealth. And people everyday Aussies who don't have much can't really afford to. Like, every 10,000 you take out in super is like 100,000 when you go to retire.
Right, yeah.
But then the ultra wealthy, their wealth doubled, some of them during COVID.
Yeah.
So it's like it builds on itself, and
Yeah.
that's where something like a wealth tax, and whether it's like you can argue about the numbers like 1 or 2%, how many million. For me, I think it should be 2% over 5 million. When you talk about taxing that, you're talking about over 5. It's every dollar over 5 million.
Yeah.
So you get to keep your first 5 million.
Yes, right.
And then every dollar over that you need to pay back for the public good. It's
Yeah.
not just like giving charity. It's like if
Yeah.
you're worth over 5 million, you probably own a business that then has all these employees that have used the roads, used all the public services to get it, and they don't want to. I think they either genuinely don't understand. The wealthy people just don't understand that, or they don't want to understand that.
Yeah.
They think that they're self-made, and it's like, they've built up all these skills.
They work 30 years and then they get success, and now they say, actually, you're worth a bit more now. And it's like, well, but I just worked hard like everyone else until I got here.
Yeah.
But you're right. You don't need it. It's not anti-wealth. It's anti-gluttony.
Yeah,
Like it's anti-greed.
Yeah,
Or
and it's not punishing them for being wealthy. It's the recognition of you didn't do this alone. You did this with a lot of public services.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then it's like, why? Because you can take the extreme, like, why pay tax at all? And there are libertarians that say, no, we shouldn't pay any tax at all. But then it's like you start getting into, okay, so someone breaks in your house, what do you do? Call the police.
No public services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it falls apart pretty quickly. Like most people get to the point of, okay, we need public services.
Makes sense.
It's just a proportion of who pays for that.
Well, I
think
think
it's completely skewed.
The same thing that you fixed the first proposal with, negative reinforcement versus positive incentive, it might need a reframing in the same way as I'm not taking 2% when you make over 5 million. You're helping 2% when you make over 5 million.
Yeah.
Like if they can, like you said, they may genuinely not understand.
Yeah.
Wealthy people, that it's not for the negative of you, it's for the greater good of everyone else.
Yeah. I think, again, Andrew Yang, he talked about it a little bit when he ran, was like, what the government really should do is highlight, because I was actually going to bring it in today. We could maybe do this in a third video. I was going to print out, when you do your tax return and you can actually see where your money goes.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I know they do that for the purposes of people go, okay, I paid $10,000 in tax. Where did that break down? And you literally get the breakdown.
The itemized
military,
invoice.
healthcare, all of that. That's different. Like seeing a number with a graph is different to going, this single mother who escaped domestic violence with her 2 kids, had to go into public housing, then worked hard to build her life back. They couldn't have done it without that.
Like anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, like actual cases of like, this is where your money goes.
Yeah.
To help people that are struggling.
Yeah, that connects it a bit better, the dots.
Yeah, and I already I'm doing this so much that I can hear the counter arguments in my head as I talk. The other argument is like, oh, well, that's what charity, like we can do charities and stuff. But where charity is a bit of a problem is a lot of the time it's tax write-offs. So it just makes wealthier people wealthier.
Yeah.
Because they just write that off on their taxes, and they also get to look good.
Yeah.
So it's more about control, because they could also withdraw that for whatever reason, or they get to choose how much, where it's like, no, part of being a society is we pay taxes. And everyday Aussies, they pay so much. Because the thing is, it's like a millionaire, let's say they make $1 million a year, they are paying a lot. I don't know the exact, you usually just get a tax calculator, and it could be maybe 300,000 or more. It could be like a third of their income. And that sounds like a lot. But then if you're making, let's say like the average salary about $75,000, you're also paying like close to a third. It's probably a little bit less of your income.
Right.
In taxes, maybe 25%. But then you need that money so much more when you're only earning that much.
Yeah.
Whereas someone earning $1 million, if they had to pay, because my tax rate I'm going to suggest is like over $450,000 a year, about 90% tax rate. And people go, shit, that's a lot. But it's like, that's over 450. That's what a marginal tax
you're still
rate
comfortable
is.
first.
It's not 90% of every dollar. It's after your first 450,000 in a year.
Yeah.
You might pay like quite a bit more, but you can afford that. I think that's the whole thing that Bernie Sanders says. Is like these people can afford it. They just don't want to. They just want to get as rich as they can. Because they often compare themselves. Everyone compares themselves up. So I think that's what Joe Rogan does, right? Like why he moved to Texas away from California because of no income, state income taxes.
Yeah.
People look at Joe Rogan and go, he's worth like 300 million maybe. But he looks at Elon Musk across from him at the table, who's worth like 300 billion.
Yeah.
So Joe Rogan doesn't feel rich because his friends are even richer.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is like, of course, I don't blame individuals for trying to increase their income. Like I do that. I claim things on tax. I don't want to pay super high tax.
Yeah, yeah.
But that doesn't mean in a system that we shouldn't be making people who can afford it pay their fair share.
Yeah, and it's not like they already, like you said before, Elon already has this 300 billion in wealth, in assets. This is just his yearly income. It's not like 90% of his wealth over 450k disintegrates. That's all still there.
Yeah,
it's just income of that year. Yeah.
And then there's, I can hear the argument again, the loopholes of like they'll find ways to like put it off seas or keep it in the business and not take it as income. And it's like, just because they'll find a loophole doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Yeah.
To let go, oh, they'll find a loophole, so let's not even bother.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we then get ahead of the loopholes.
Yeah.
To make them pay more. Because the big one is like big businesses, like tech companies that basically pay nothing in tax. Like zero, like you would have guaranteed last year paid more in tax than like a lot of, like Optus, for example, paid $0 in tax. And because they write off losses and things, it's like,
isn't that what Trump said?
About what?
I think he said it to Hillary or something years ago.
Yeah.
She was calling him out for not paying much tax, and he said, I'm just using the system that you guys didn't change this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, companies like Google, this happened a little while ago when they were trying to make them pay taxes, like, oh, we're just going to leave. It's like, good, leave. Because someone else, that's what capitalism is supposed to be. Is like,
Fill the
a
hole.
competitor will come in, everyone will go to Bing.
Yeah.
Microsoft pays their tax. It's like, this is my whole frustration is that the government, what I'm learning more and more, and there's a lot of reasons for it, is the government just cucks themselves to big business, basically. Liberals completely cuck themselves, and the Labor are not too far behind because you look where their donations come from.
Yeah.
Or after they finish up as politicians, they go to work for them. So they do them deals while they're in government.
Yeah. Follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how we get out of it.
Well, it'd be nice if Australia would have some forward-looking, I don't know, policies around AI or something. Like I know you said that Australia pretty much just has nothing in place for AI, and the rush is, if it's not already here, it's coming very quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think that Australia should put in place surrounding specifically AI?
I like I haven't done a video on this one yet, but the European Union or the EU, which is kind of like it's not a country, but it's the European group. They have an AI policy, and it's like a risk level of high risk technologies, moderate, so they rank them. And so there are AI technologies that are banned. Then there's ones that they have businesses and organizations have certain rules. They can't use them. It's like things like I think it's like there's privacy ones where they can't put confidential information into them, etc. And then there's ones that are like not really regulated or like it's fine to use.
Yeah.
And then the businesses, if they break those rules, they get fines, and they're actually fines that might make the business think twice.
Right.
It's a fine plus a percentage of their global annual revenue, and some of it's like 7%. So it's like they make $5 billion across the world in a year. They have to pay like 7% of that as a fine. So it's actually got teeth and actually might make the businesses think twice. Australia's smaller, so we might have to like modify that. But I do think something like some kind of AI regulator agency, and then different AI technologies broken up into different categories of risk, then different industries again, creative industries. I don't know if you're worried about musicians being replaced. I know because anyone could just put in the aux cord and play Spotify. Yeah. So like a performing musician could always be replaced at a venue.
Yes, yeah.
Part of the appeal is seeing that live musician. So you personally might not lose your job in venues, but
making music, recording music, yes, certainly. But live performance, but I still like to see a robot band perform live. I'd love to see that. But you're not going to have the emotion and the free will. But more so, I mean, the counter argument to getting in restrictions high, mid, low is the Western countries that aren't doing that take leaps and bounds ahead.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing. When you're in the race, you're either in it or you're not. And if you fall behind because of the restrictions on your country, and then your country falls behind in comparison, now suddenly the Western ones like the US that had no restrictions on it are way ahead.
That's why with my scenarios, I put my percentage because I got ChatGPT to say the percentage based on what it thinks. I looked at the factors, and I'm much more on that end of like, you're not going to get this global cooperation. That's why each country has to do it on their own in their best way, because I don't think there will be a global one.
But what would the incentive be for a country to do it on their own?
I think like if the job apocalypse start happening, like the US goes, okay, we're not going to regulate, even though I think the US has some regulations, not many. I think they'll start seeing that unemployment going up, crime going up in this, and the governments might have to. I think that's what's going to happen is they'll act afterwards.
Yeah.
So then hopefully maybe other countries see that and go, okay, we need to regulate it, because the EU is like already doing it
Preemptively.
Yeah, because I think that's this is an idea I haven't even spoken about yet, but like I have to think it through more. But like, do businesses need to have? Do we need to regulate how many employees they have compared to their revenue? Like if they make 100 million, they have to have this many employees,
Right.
so they can get more efficient, but they can't fire unless they want to cop a huge fine,
Yes.
which can then be used as.
Well, I was actually going to ask that too. I was going to say the ranking and stuff around AI is good, but what about the actual thing you talked about, the job apocalypse of what happens when my job gets replaced by AI? So what would the policy be around someone losing their job to AI, and why wouldn't a business be able to pretty easily just say, I didn't give it to AI, it was, comped into this other job here, they're just redundant, they're not replaced. Like, how do you force a job to admit they got rid of a position because of AI?
Yeah, I like this is. I'm kind of calling it digital offshoring, because offshoring is easy to prove, because it's like we fired 35 people in our customer service department and we've opened an office in India.
Yeah.
Very easy to link that. Digital offshoring is different, but it happened with the Combank already. The lady called the CEO out. They had the general meeting. That's where all the shareholders come and they vote on things like how much the executives get paid and big business decisions.
Yeah.
And the lady spoke up and called him out, and she got to keep her. She already got fired, I think. And she was close to retirement. She was like 62 and was going to retire in 3 years, but they let her keep her job.
Right.
So public shaming works.
I think
because they're going to try it. Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm scared.
Yeah, they'll put it under the rug if they can. I think that's a good proposal of the per amount, let's say per million of profit, you have to have one employee on whatever, 100,000.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's a good, if we can see you making 30 million and you've got 2 employers, like unless you started the company with 2 and you guys have never hired, you haven't offloaded, sure. But if you've had 100 and now you've got 30 and you're still making the same amount of profit, that rule would be helpful.
Yeah, because that with things like Amazon then would hold them accountable, because it's like they can't get rid of 600. If their revenue is going to double, they're going to have to, if there's a government law around that, they're going to have to increase the employees. Again, a lot of people are not going to like that, because that's, regulation. Some people I'm coming to accept it. Some people just do not want the government involved. They just want businesses to run free.
Yeah.
But we kind of see what happens when that happens. So that's the worry.
It almost gets to the point now with, if productivity is going up, which it is insanely, and even a normal person in their normal position can use AI to make their own role more productive, so they're getting better as well. It almost seems like it's going to get to the point where you shouldn't be able to make someone redundant. Like, it's just illegal to fire someone unless the fire is disciplinary action, obviously.
Yeah.
Like a normal reason to fire someone. You can't offload because you're getting more productive.
Yeah.
It almost seems like you would just have to say, you can hire more, you can't unhire.
Yeah, look, that's getting into pretty, because even where with business, I'm technically a business. I don't see myself as a business person, but I am. I do know that things do change, and sometimes businesses do need to shut down departments, or they're going to move into a different area. I think it's probably more, I like it from a bottom-up approach. Well, because top-down would be the government saying this is the rule. Bottom-up is more like the workers and unions and coming together to go, this is not acceptable, and shaming them. I love public shaming. But probably a combination of both will be needed. So yeah, I think look, it's probably going to have, if we're going to keep unemployment low, something's going to have to happen. So
yes,
yeah. But look, let's round it back to the start about voting. This is my thing. Again, I'm already seeing the next election coming up, and I don't know who I'm going to vote for, and that's why I'm even starting to consider myself going, do I need to put myself as a candidate, because no one I hear talking about this. Is that something that would at least, whether you vote or not, you'd look into what politicians in my area actually know anything about AI and care about?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is when I say getting people engaged or going, how does this affect my life? It's if we're going to have tens of thousands of people unemployed from AI,
what are we going to do?
Go up.
No
one's going to be safe.
Free time. There's so many implications we haven't even dug into of what someone does with their free time once they have it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say, I want to work less so I can put more time into projects. They work less. They're actually less productive. Because I know if I work 5 days a week, full-time hours, and I come home, I know that small slot of free time, I really have to work on what I want to work on in that free time. I don't have any other time. If I suddenly have days free, I can do it tomorrow. And that type of thing starts to happen. And I think there's a lot of studies that are quite adamant that, you know, the more free time you have, the less you actually do the things that you said you were going to do. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a whole nother thing of like the implications.
It's a balance, yeah. No, and look, I don't even think we've even, the government certainly hasn't even thought about what that will look like. So, yeah, I think we can definitely.
But yeah, to answer your question, sorry, yes. If I saw a person in my area or one of the big parties or whatever start really touting AI, this is what we're going to do. We know this is a problem. It's coming very soon, maybe in 2028, maybe not even 2030. And this is what we're going to do about it. Australia's going to be fine. We've got these ground rules in place. I'd be like, all right, cool, that makes sense. $35 voucher, I'm there.
Yeah. And then get it done.
And hopefully they'd get voted in.
Yeah.
But they risk, the more they tout AI, even if it is in a way of saying we'll deal with it, old people, boomers, that they see AI and they disengage immediately. No AI, even though they didn't read the rest of the sentence.
Yeah. Well, again, the voting number, like their voting group is getting smaller for the reasons of that. But but this has been a good chat because I think what I'd love to do if we do another, like let's aim for another follow up in 6-ish. This was like 6 months coming. We'll do another 6 months.
Yeah, let's things progress a bit.
I'd love to do one. Let's go through like the political issues. Because like it will be getting closer to like the Victoria. There's a state election next year, so we can have a look at the politicians in the area, the political issues, and sort of see what they're thinking about. Because I'm going to keep doing the AI stuff, but I think you and me are going to be fine because the stuff like me being like doing therapy and counseling and you doing like music, that is the human stuff. I do think that that's the thing that gives me hope is that human element. People are going to want that, especially, I don't know if you even see, like I see on, sometimes you get ads on social media or whatever, you can tell the image is created by ChatGPT.
And the caption.
And that company loses my interest immediately. I'm like, I'm not giving them $1 because I just tell they're lazy. They just literally use the ChatGPT image as their main image. So I think people are starting to learn that.
Or even the image is real and it's an auto-generated text. About the I'm like, I know you're not real.
Do you feel like that? I know for me that I instantly lose trust in that company. I know they're not going to get $1 of mine. And I think people are going to be like that more and more. Like I'm even finding if a company gives me a chatbot, I'm going to try and find a competitor now, even with like big banks and stuff.
Yeah.
If they all use it, that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But that human element is something that I think has so much value, and maybe that's the hope when AI use increases. That human element is what people really start to value.
But I agree, and then I hit the human element, and they're the most frustrating thing to deal with in the world, and I wish I was talking to AI that understood me immediately.
All right, this is The Rightest Leftist, Nathan Ogilvy.
See you in 6 months.
Yeah, this has been a good chat. Let's keep talking very soon.